Hey guys, I know we're a little bit late in the evening, but how are you doing? I hope you're having a great day. You've had a great week. It is a hump day, but I want to give you guys some quick news. I just literally came off the highest high that I could have had. I had my third launch of Idea to Launch, the intensive course. It's not a launch with that name, but it was my biggest one and thus far. And honestly, like, I just can't believe the amount of support and the amount of people that believe in me and believe in my product. And sometimes it's a little hard to, take in everything and be in the moment and be present in the fact that I have been working for this. So the past 2 days, I had to take a few mental health days. And this is perfect for this episode because this episode I am sitting down with Angel, and she is a psychiatrist. We talked about therapy and what it looks like to be in therapy, what it looks like to have to be medicated, just all mental health. And for me, it's crazy because this was recorded actually February 20th. And today for me, it is March 4th. When I am dropping this for you guys. So this recording that I'm doing right now is definitely on time, in real time. And I had just had 2 really bad breakdowns to the point where I had to use medication. And I spoke about it on social media. I did not want to use medication. I beat myself up when I have to, but I know that I need it at times. And there are outside things within my life that are causing that. But I sat down and I wrote down everything that I've done. And it's like, Carla, you just had your biggest launch. You just had the most amount of people sign up for your course. I have been able to prove this course over and over and over again that if someone wants to start a podcast, if they want to grow their brand, they can do so. And I'm living proof that I'm doing so. So in saying that, there are only 4 spots left for the class that starts on Monday, March 9th. Only 4 spots left. So if you have any questions, email me, hello@carlawamaris.com. I am linking the replay to the webinar just in case you missed it on the notes of this episode. I'm also linking the link to join the course. Please, if you have ever even had the slightest thought of starting a podcast, or if you have a business, go to that webinar. I'm drinking wine, hanging out with y'all, and basically telling you about my life. So it's just one of those lives that I do with some podcast information. I just want to thank you all for referring your friends to me whenever you see them talking about starting a podcast. I want to thank you for, being my number one supporters. Like, I'm talking to you right now that you're listening to me. You are my number one fan. I know it, and I feel it from so many thousands of you that, send me messages and join on Patreon and buy my products or refer me to someone. Thank you. And when I'm having those low days like I just had for the past 2 or 3 days that I didn't want to get out of bed, or I'm crying for no reason, or I can't breathe, I can't think, my chest hurts, and I don't know why I'm having this panic attack, or, I can't get out of that funk, I think about the fact that I have so many of you that support me, that push my brand and believe in what I'm doing. So thank you again for that. And let's go ahead and get started with the episode. It's all about mental health. It's all about, do we go to our friends to ask for advice? When do we decide to go to a psychiatrist? When do we go to a therapist? When do we need medication? All of these things that sometimes I think it just becomes a little misconstrued because we're talking about mental health now. It seems like all the time, and I'm perfectly fine with it because I think that the exposure of it, it's just good. It can't do any harm to talk about it. Some people take advantage of it, but I talk about it in the episode. I hope you enjoy this, and make sure that if you do, you leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps me so much. And at the end of the episode, I have a shout out for a very, very special person that left me a super sweet message on Apple Podcasts. So now let's get started with the show. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Shit I'm 30. Thank you so much for coming back. I keep saying every week, happy Wednesday. And I think I keep saying that because I just switched my days from Tuesdays to Wednesdays because I added my Mindful Mondays. And I've gotten a really good response on Mindful Mondays. I talk a lot about experience. Like, you're such a great motivational person. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Please don't put that title on me because I really only speak on things that I go through myself and what my friends go through. If I see someone that has an interesting story, I speak on. But today, my guest co-host for the show is the beautiful, because you're gorgeous and I'm looking at her, Angel Adams. And I actually found you. I talk about all the time how I have Instagram besties. And I'm like, they're my Insta friends, and your friend is one of them.
Yes.
Yeah. So she posted you. She's like, oh, I have my friend. She's like my therapist. And I'm like, oh my goodness, she's a woman of color. I want to talk to her. I looked at your page and we connected that way. So who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? All the good stuff.
Yeah. So, like you said, I'm Angel Adams, and I'm from Dallas, Texas, and I am a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. So, to break that down, basically what I do is I diagnose any type of mental illness, whether that's depression, anxiety, ADHD, bipolar, schizophrenia. And my main thing is to do medication management if that's needed. Most of the times it's needed. So whatever medication you need to be on, I will start it. I will continue it. I will manage it. I will stop it, restart. It's really it's a process because one medication for somebody else might not be for the next.
Right.
I do provide therapy that is under my scope of practice. So that's
So how
basically.
long have you been doing this?
So 6 years total. I started off as a psych nurse, obviously, and then I went back and got my nurse practitioner, and I've been doing this for about 16 months now,
Whoa.
as far as prescribing part and diagnosing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're from Dallas?
Yes, I
Oh,
am.
I promise you, I'm going. My friend is actually doing a show there tonight. And I'm like, I should have just gone because I've never been to Dallas.
Yes, girl, come.
I'm going to come at some point. I have another friend or someone else in Houston. She's like, come to Houston. And I'm like, I'm going to make it to Texas at one point in time.
Yeah, you need to do both. They're both awesome. I've lived in both.
I'm definitely going to go. Before we get started on all the good things that I want to talk to you, because I do speak a lot on mental health because I have struggled and I still struggle with it myself. And I feel like in our community, I'm really happy that it's being talked about all the time now. Yes. And some people say, oh, it's like, it's a money-making machine now. Are they doing it as a gimmick? I don't care if it's being done as a gimmick or not, or if someone's just talking about it for clicks. At least you're talking about it. And someone, at least one person will see it. But before we get started, I wanted to start with our shit you should know. And I saw an article on CNBC saying that half of millennials and 75% of Gen Z generation have left jobs for mental health reasons. So I was like, really? I left my job because I was about to jump out the window. My whole career, actually. I didn't leave a job. I left a career. But it says an estimated 46.6 million U.S. adults struggle with mental illnesses such as anxiety disorder. And you don't have to be clinically diagnosed with a mental illness to experience symptoms and effects of stress and anxiety, especially in the workplace. So for millennials specifically, the research suggests that money and work are the biggest factors contributing to their stress. And I was reading a little bit more because I found this interesting. I'm like, wow, because it's millennials and then Gen Z, which I don't even think my daughter's a Gen Z. I don't know what she is now. What's the new, do you know what the
new is? What is it, millennials? Okay, millennials, is it like 79 through
87? So 23 to 38 years old. I'm a millennial.
Oh, well, hell, I'm 39. So where where do I fall? I'm before
a boomer. No, I'm just kidding. Totally kidding.
Right. Okay. So yeah, I'm close enough. So I'm gonna kind of bring it. Okay.
Are you turning 40 this year?
Yeah, I'll be 40 in July.
Oh, okay, because I know my sister turns 39 this year, but she's still a millennial. So I think you just missed it by a year to whatever that one is.
Okay.
And then Gen Z is 18 to 22. Dang. Okay. No, baby, I was told being an asshole because baby boomers are 55 to 73. So, let me stop that part. But it says millennials are 3 times more likely to experience symptoms of anxiety than baby boomers, which is probably our parents. And then Gen Z are 4 times more likely. So the younger generation has more symptoms of anxiety. And I'll ask you why in your professional opinion, because I think it's social media.
Yeah, it's a lot going on. Times have definitely changed. But if you do look at the baby boomers and the things that they went through, a lot of racism, and even their parents, which would be my grandparents. Hell, my grandmother picked cotton in Mississippi, and my granddaddy did. And I think during that time, it was a lot of more solidarity, unity going on. Mm-hmm. And so... And I'm not saying that anxiety and depression didn't exist. I'm not saying that. But we had, or rather they had better support, and now it's like as the generations go, and like you say, the millennials and now Gen Z, I don't want to say, I definitely don't want to say weak. Okay. I'm really going to keep it real. We do, we're just not equipped with the mental capacity that we had back in the day. And not only that, a lot of things are thrown at us as well, which I can say can contribute to it. Like you say, the social media,
Right.
stress of performing well, jobs, money. So it is a lot of more stressors, different stressors, but the way that we're able to deal with it, Blacks in total are just not
I feel
together.
like we live in this like victim culture
Yeah.
now. Everybody
Yes.
is a victim because
Yeah.
here in the same article it says that beyond age, demographic factors like race affect the survey. So, for example, Black and Latinx, just
Mm-hmm.
the whole Latinx thing. I'm just Hispanic, like I don't know. So Black and Latinx respond were 50% more likely to leave a job and have higher rates of mental health symptoms than Caucasian people. I think that's been across the board forever.
Okay.
But we
Yeah.
have more of a chance of having, mental health issues. But I also do think that our parents or our grandparents, I remember my grandfather was in the Vietnam War. They
Mm-hmm.
went through so much. My grandma, if I hear the stories, I had no idea my grandparents were poor and that my father grew up poor until I was an
Mm-hmm.
adult. I had no idea. But I never heard my grandparents or my dad speaking of this victim, like, oh, I didn't have anything. It
Yeah.
was just, they did what they could with what they had.
That's
And
right.
pushing, there was no complaining, there was no crying, at least from what
Mm-hmm.
I saw. Like, again, I
That's
think I was in my mid-20s.
accurate. That's very accurate, though.
So now
It,
everyone's just like, you are speaking to me and I'm offended because whatever. Everybody's offended. And
mm-hmm.
I get messages all the time. They're like, oh, you're so problematic. Or I'm not. You're just easily offended. Get over it.
Right.
I get
Right.
spoken to a million different ways all the time. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
is it really going to affect me what your opinion is of me? No, keep it pushing.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with someone I was recording with yesterday, and we were talking about, which I'm going to have the conversation with her, it's a story of her and her sister. They're married, two women, they're lesbians, and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to a church, but they can't serve as leaders, and they're upset and looking for a different church. And I'm like, well, if that church per se doesn't accept you, don't go bad mouthing them. You knew this before you got there, so just find one that accepts you and lets you do what you want to
Exactly.
do.
Yes.
Why go all the way off? If that's not the place for you, then go somewhere else. If you go to a restaurant, this big expensive steakhouse, and there's a bunch of white people and they don't want me there, I'm not going to sit here and call the news and make a
Exactly.
big thing. I'm going to go to a steakhouse that wants me, or I'm going to create my own.
Yes.
I'm
I agree with you. But there's a lot of people that just that's not the model they live by. You know what I mean? It's like accept me, accept me, accept me, or else. Like,
and it's like, or else what? They don't care
yeah.
about you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't care about you, whatever it is. It could be because you're big. It could be because of your color, your skin. It could be because of your sex orientation. Whatever it is, just keep it. Stop asking for everyone to accept you. We're not everybody's cup of tea,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
won't be. But
Yeah.
I found that just very interesting that now more than ever, people are just up and leaving their jobs because of mental health. And I think some people are using it as an excuse.
Oh yes.
Big
Yeah.
time.
I get so many people coming to me. They want to on the first day. They come to me with evaluation. Okay, and oh, by the way, you think you can write me a letter and take me off work for 3 months? No, I cannot.
What?
This is our first visit. This is not what this is for. You know what I mean? Like,
oh,
so
come on. At least do a little better. Come in
like,
for at least 2 months and act like you need to be off
exactly.
for 3 months.
And there are people that need it. Like,
Right.
there are a ton of people that need it, and we're just talking about people that are really kind of abusing, what's out there and the loopholes that you can get through. But yeah, it's really different out here nowadays. I can say that.
It is. So I wanted to talk to you about basically what it looks like to go to therapy, to find a psychiatrist, to go to a psychologist. But before we go into what it looks like, because I speak on how I have gotten to where I am today,
okay,
thanking the Lord and my therapist. So both of them together. I have gone through a lot, still go through a lot, but my therapist has helped me a lot. But what is the difference before we start there's three things that we always hear. There's a therapist that we go to and we sit on the couch, supposedly like in the movies. And then there's a psychologist and then the psychiatrist. What's the difference between the three?
Okay. So let's start with the psychologist. Psychologists do more of testing and more of studying of the brain. Like if there's something wrong with you that's maybe causing you to have a certain mental condition and things like that. They're more studying, okay? Studying you, studying your brain, giving you tests, figuring things out for you.
Okay.
And that way for a diagnosis. Okay, then there's a therapist. A therapist is there to work you through your problems, help you reach goals, figure out, was it a childhood trauma that's making you act this way as an adult? What is it that I can bring out of you to make you better, to make you see things about yourself, or to just do things better for you that's going to help you get out of the place that you're in? Because obviously, if you're going to therapy, you're trying to find a better space, right? Okay, and then there's a psychiatrist. So they're there to diagnose you as well, but their main thing is to help you with medications.
Okay.
That's really the difference. And there are holistic psychiatrists out there and nurse practitioners as well that looks at foods, maybe. That's a specialty.
Like eat a yogurt and put some oregano on it, and you're
Yeah.
Do your Kegels, have some sex, and you're better now. I'm a holistic psychiatrist. If you guys need anything, I'll let you know how to get rid of some stress. But
yeah,
I wanted to know, how do you determine what you need? So from my experience, I'll say I was pretty sure that I had ADD, ADHD. I was like, growing up, period. I mean, so did my dad. Like, they just called him crazy. I was called crazy, and I'm all over the place. And what happens when you're growing up as, I think, a person of color, not even a woman, just in a household of color, Hispanic or Black. And it was until I got older that my sister went to law school and she got Adderall. And I'm 6 years younger. So I'm like, I wonder if I can use that and it'll help me.
Yeah.
So I went back to school and she had some left and I used it. And it was like, the Limitless pill? I was actually able to sit when I went back to school for like 10 hours and study. And when I tell you, I cannot sit on one thing for more than like 20 minutes, I just can't. It's impossible for me. My mind is all over the place. I'm all over the place. I'm very smart, but I'm all over the place. So I went to a therapist who then sent me to a psychiatrist. I talked to him a few times and he tells me, there's a certain medication where you don't have to do Adderall. And I was very honest with him. I said, I've gotten it from my sister and then I bought it from some white girl. Whoa.
Yeah.
Definitely did a drug deal. I was like, I did some illegal shit. So he's like, I don't think you should be on this. You should do another one, which is a slow release. You have to use it every day. But I don't like medication. So I told him, no, I don't want to do it every day. I don't want to be on. I want to use it for when I need it. And that's it. I know that all these drugs can be very addictive. So I didn't want to do that. And I said, I think Adderall worked for me. Can I do that and not take it every day? Can I only take it as needed? And he told me no.
See, and that's a red flag because a lot of doctors want to continue you on it so that you can have more frequency in your visits. I tell my patients, you don't have to use it every day. Why you want to be wired up on a Saturday and Sunday?
Exactly. I want to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. No, you do not. Let me say that. You do not have to use Adderall, Vyvanse, any type of stimulant that you are on every day. You do not.
Right. When I said that I didn't want to come in, I came in for the second time and I said, I have to have some left. And they literally discharged me because I didn't want to go on a slow release one where it's like, you can stay focused all the time, but it'll make it better. And I'm like, I'm still doing what I have to do. There's just times I was an accountant. So during that, my 5-day close week, I needed to be there sometimes 60 to 80 hours and get up, be there at 6 a.m. I needed it. So what my question to you is basically, how do you determine if you need a therapist or a psychiatrist? How do you choose?
A lot of times, and this is why I love therapists. I like it when the patient goes to the therapist first and sit down and kind of figure out the root of what's going on. And many times the therapist they'll get to a point where they could recognize, hey, this person might need some medication management, and they'll send them on to me. So a lot of times I think that the first step as therapy is the best step because medications work. They're great. I think that God allowed, people to be able to invent them for a reason, but I don't want to be pushing medication in a person that can otherwise, relieve themselves through therapy and doing things such as exercise that releases all types of endorphins that can help you feel better, So I think therapy as a first stop is the better choice.
And then the therapist will then
Yes.
recommend you to a
Can
psychiatrist.
recommend. Yes.
Got you. And then how do you choose? So I know that you do therapy as well. I went through, I don't know if you've heard of therapy for Black girls, but
No,
I went. So is Dr. Joy Harden, I believe is her last name. She has a podcast called Therapy for Black Girls. Okay. And I have gone to a few different therapists. I had a white lady, I'll never forget her name. Her name was Victoria. She didn't get it. I would talk to her and she's like, oh, what does that mean? And I'm like, girl, we live in two different worlds. Gotta go. Then I had an older Black man who would stare at my toes. And he was just creepy. He was so creepy. I'm like, I think he's not listening to what I'm saying, but he's trying to figure out how to take my clothes off. And then I had a gay Hispanic girl or lesbian or whatever it is. And she was cool. I get it. But I went to her for something in specific. It was really to deal with my mom. I wanted someone Spanish. That way my mom could feel free to speak Spanish if she wanted to. And then she never showed up. So I was like, bye. I got to find somebody that I can deal with. And I went to that directory, which I talk about all the time on here. Therapy for Black girls. And that's how I found my therapist here. And love her. But how do you suggest, how many times should you see a therapist? And I know I have a friend specifically right now. She's like, I went to one, it was too expensive. I want to do it face to face. I don't know who I'm going to connect with. So how do you choose a therapist?
Okay. So there's a lot of sites that you can go to. For instance, onepsychologytoday.com, which I think is excellent.
Oh, I've been there too.
Yeah, you've been there too. Yeah, a lot of my patients actually find me on there. That want someone Black and can identify that they can identify.
Oh my gosh. So you definitely should apply to be on the directory, Joy's directory. I'm going to send you the information.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, please do. So, basically, read the bios, please look at the reviews. Like it's very important. Yeah. Like there are some salty people out there is going to, for the most part,
always
read something crazy. Sometimes, you have to consider the population that we're dealing with at times, but, read the bio. Get a feel for them for how they look. There's a certain look that you can, really see yourself sitting down and talking to someone face to face. Interview them. There's a lot of times where therapists can give discounted prices for a first time just to make sure that person is going to mesh well with them. So just fill it out. But for the most part, do your research. I say look at the reviews.
My therapist did 15 minutes. Like a consultation for 15 minutes for free. And I showed up. It ended up being like 45 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, you are perfect for me. And I've also done phone interview, like a phone consultation before you show up. So like talk to them and see if you like how to do them. So I know some therapists also do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think it takes a while to figure out if someone is the right person for you or not.
Yeah.
It
definitely won't be off the first meeting. You're just gonna have to kind of trust your gut and go with it, and then
it's kind of like dating. We date y'all. Honestly, it's like a whole relationship that we have. We just don't take you home and can't call you. I mean, I can text and call mine sometimes, but it's very. I try not to do it because I know I got to show up to her anyway. But I'm just like, listen, going through it. Can I come in tomorrow, please?
Yeah.
So what does it look like being diagnosed then? The only experience I have that was with the ADHD. And what does it look like? I want my anxiety, but diagnosed to the point where you need medication.
So there are a lot of tests out there that we could do, tried and true tests that basically indicate your diagnosis, generalized anxiety, social, depression, the level. So dependent upon just say whatever your test reveals, if you had a high count of this or a low count of this, if it's a high count, it would suggest medication.
Is this a high count of like your blood cells or something?
Oh, no. Unfortunately, we don't have any type of blood test for, depression or anything like that.
Right.
So just say it's 1 to 20 and you score a 15. So the 15
like a questionnaire.
Yeah, questionnaire. Okay. Yeah, like a questionnaire. Then it'd say, you know what, you might want to consider medication. And then if it's 18, you might want to consider medication and therapy. Or if it's 5, might consider just therapy, So those are kind of the recommendations given.
That's how you decide how getting diagnosed. Now, the main ones I know about is like that we talk about all the time: depression, anxiety, bipolar, multiple personality disorder, like all that stuff. What are some other common ones that people or women of color that come to your medical that come to you that you diagnose them with?
I'm not going to say common, but I do have women of color that have schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I have heard a lot of schizophrenia.
yeah. So that's hallucinations, hearing voices or delusional, maybe thinking somebody's God or their God or someone's always out to kill me, paranoia. Those are
So do they
some
really hear a voice?
uh-huh. They hear voices in their head.
Like I'm hearing you right now. They hear it just as clear.
Yes, that's the way they describe it. Correct. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And that's something I
Yeah.
never understood. I feel like people go through that and they're like, maybe I'm just crazy, but it could be definitely that they have it. Does that person talk to them all the time, or is it just like a few
Yeah,
times?
it could be constant. It could be constant. It could be triggers. If they see a certain person, maybe the voices come. Smells trigger things. Voices. Yeah.
Smells definitely trigger. I've gotten triggered my anxiety with smells.
Oh,
Like,
really?
with right after my dad passed away, his cologne. So I
Mm.
would get
Oh,
very,
yeah. I can imagine how that comes. Yeah.
So that it would bring me back to a certain time, or like if I'm at the beach now, I love, and it triggers me to like get calm. So that's why I love going to the beach. The beach calms me, and it's like the smell, the feel of being there. Now, medication. I guess somebody with schizophrenia needs medication. Somebody really, really depressed probably needs medication. But how can I, as a person, know that you're not prescribing me medication based on your partnership with pharmaceutical companies? Did you watch The Pharmacy on Netflix?
My sister just watched that, and I hear I need to watch it. I hear it is like, yeah.
The craziest part is that it's a black doctor, a black woman.
Just like in a small town, right?
Yes. It's a black, that made it crazy. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, she was broken too. I almost wanted to be a doctor just because of her. Scam everybody.
What you need to look for, make sure who your provider is as far as medication. They're listening to you. If you're like, this medication makes me feel crazy, or it's making me gain weight, I don't like it. Is there another choice? And that person continues to keep prescribing you that same thing, that might be a red flag. Like they need to listen.
So like this doctor, it was what's the other one, like heroin?
A medication?
Yeah. She was basically
heroin.
Yeah, it's like heroin. It's like heroin, but it's prescribed. I can't think of the medication she
was
prescribing.
Suboxone? Yeah, probably
I think it was Oxycontin.
Oh,
one of those. She was prescribing it like a lot, like to everybody, and you would just come in and you only paid cash. So she had this.
That's a red flag too.
Yeah, it was a pain clinic, so she was running like a pain mill. But you go to certain doctors, and I remember I worked in the medical field for a while, and the reps would come in with the best lunch and the best gifts, and I loved it. I loved their lunches, and whoever brought the most lunches, who we would call more often sometimes, and they would bring certain things. I know the doctors did like certain medications, but I also know that we purchased from some for other reasons. So how do I know that there's 5 medications that do the same thing, but maybe some are better, but this one's bringing you better lunch? Do some doctors go with that? How do we know if that's what's happening? If they're getting a cut off of it, or if they get it, You
know what? I'm pretty sure it does happen. I will say, before I opened my own practice here, I worked at a really large practice out here in Dallas. My boss, he's like renowned. He goes on trials and this and that. So we got lunch every day. And from my experience, with everybody that practiced there, of course, if someone's bringing you lunch every day, you do think about their medication. But all in all, we want to see our patients get better. So I never even knew, like probably out of the 50 providers that worked there, we used what we knew worked. Period. We might try you here and there, you know what I mean?
Just to try it.
Not just to try it, but we're still gonna go back to what we know what works.
Gotcha. That's one thing that scares me, because I feel like medications are so addictive, and once they get you on them, you have to keep coming back. You'll need them. I was talking to this guy recently while I was going through my 3-week hoe phase, and I found out that it didn't last long. I wasn't very good at it. It was cool. I got caught up, girl. It was bad. He had this medication in his bag, and I asked him. He says he has to take it every single day. And I'm talking about someone with like tons of money and he's very well off, but he had medication every single day he had to take for what depression and anxiety and all these things. And I'm like, well, what happens if you get off of it? He's like, I can't get off of it. It just gets worse. I have to be on it. And that's something that scares the hell out of me to ever have to get on it. I think have I talked about this on the show? When I was 16, 17, I ended up in a mental hospital for attempted suicide. I was 16, 17. I knew that I went through, like, it was a lot of stress, and I don't think I wanted to necessarily end. From what I remember, it just felt like every wall was closing in. I mean, it was such a scary time for me. I didn't feel the support from my family. I felt like there was just nothing else to live for, and they put me in this place. And when I got there, I was like, hell, I was just playing. This is serious.
Right.
Like, there's people in here banging their heads on the wall. They are like, it was crazy. Like, whoa, I was scared. So they were trying to give me pills, and you had to take them. So I had watched that movie with Angelina Jolie. Was it Bad Girl Gone Something Girl?
Oh, yes. I know what you're talking about.
Right. So I learned from there to put the pill in your mouth and not take it. So that's what I was doing, because I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be sedated or whatever they want me to be in here with these folks. So I created these groups, and I pretended like I was giving people therapy. Keep in mind, I was like 16, 17 years old. I'm like, I'm the doctor. And I was there for a couple of days, but I had to get my shit together because girl, you don't belong here. But I saw what medication does. And I think maybe that's what might have scared me back then, into not wanting to be on meds or being addicted to medication. Now, since you do therapy, I talk a lot to my friends, and I talk a lot on this podcast, and I get a lot of messages, and I have my Patreon, which I call my besties, and we get together. So I have friends that I talk to, and I have my group of people, and I talk to them about what we're going through, and they talk to me, and I give them the best advice as I can, but I'm not a trained professional in any way, shape, or form. So what do you think about is the difference between going to a therapist and talking to your friends? Because some people think, I have friends, I talk to my girlfriends all the time, I'm good.
So friends that you go and talk to, some of them are blessed with the gift of gab and ways to give advice that make you feel all better. But therapists, and then people as myself that can provide therapy, we actually went to school and learned certain things to ask that can bring certain things out of you that maybe you're not aware of, techniques. There's a therapy called EMDR, like eye movement desensitization therapy or something like that, where you tap on your leg and move your eyes. And I remember taking a class on it, but it gets that deep. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you can like focus on the tap on your body, and it's deep. Let me just say that. And it actually works. It works for a lot of people that's had PTSD and things like that, anxiety. So I'm sure your friends aren't going around here tapping on you until you move your eyes side to side. So that's just the difference. Like there's so many. It's CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, where you kind of purposely think about things that you're doing to maybe change behaviors.
I think being comfortable saying certain things to a therapist that you might not tell a friend as well.
Exactly. You can go and tell your therapist you murdered somebody, and you might not even tell your own mom or dad. You know what I mean?
As a therapist, do you have to tell that I killed someone?
Yeah.
What if it was something 30 years ago?
Code, but yeah, there's some things that, like if you tell me that you're going to harm somebody else, or
see, that one hasn't happened yet. So what if I'm now 55 and I told you when I was 15 I killed a boyfriend? But I mean, now that's like 40 years ago. Do you have to tell?
Yes.
Damn, that sucks. Yeah. I think I was listening to, was it a pastor? I think it was TD Jakes on the Breakfast Club. And he was saying that if it was they also have to like tell certain things. Yeah. Even though there's confidentiality. But he was like, if it's something really old and they haven't killed since, and he's like, I might not tell. I mean, I wouldn't tell.
It'd be hard. It would be hard.
So it's not like you don't have to choose. It's like legally you have to tell, but you can't legally tell. That's one great thing I love about going to my therapist. I can go in there and talk about anything. And I know that although she feels like a girlfriend and she's super cool and I love how she is and I can talk to her for hours, which I don't because it's expensive, but it's like a really well-paid friend. she cannot go back to my friends or to anyone to tell her what I'm talking about.
No, absolutely not. I actually have mutual friends that come to me, and I absolutely will not ever tell the other friend.
But that's if she pays you?
Yeah. And I'm not saying we're best friends or anything like that. But we, grew up together. We all know each other, and I can't go back. Girl, so and so came to me and no, I can't.
When they come to you in a professional setting, but you're a therapist now, you have this under you. So if you're with your girlfriends and you have a set of girlfriends and y'all talking, can you go and tell another friend if it wasn't if it's just a friend thing, right? It only works if they paid you?
No, you mean like, okay, if I have a set of girlfriends over here, right?
Mm-hmm. And you guys are just talking. One friend told you something, not in a therapy session, but told you something. Okay. You can tell the other friend if you want to, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So it only works if they paid you.
Yeah, not in a therapy session. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Gotcha. I don't think, should you go to a friend that's a therapist?
Well, okay. So and I'm glad you're saying this, because again, I am not a therapist.
You're right. But if you're looking for a therapist,
I can provide therapy, but yeah. So I would recommend not going to a close friend. Right.
Go to I think the stranger part. And how far can you tell? How much should you tell a therapist? I feel like at first I wasn't very sure how much I should say, because I'm like, she's gonna think I'm crazy.
Yeah, no, let me tell you something. We've seen it all. Splurge, tell it all, because the more we know about you, the more we can better help you. Honestly. Okay. Like, we done seen it all. Like some people shocked me.
What's one of the most shocking things?
I had this poly purebred white girl, just plain Jane, come into me. She's bipolar, and she's not. There's a difference. There's a bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. She was more of the mild form, bipolar 2, but she eventually told, because she always told me that she had a boyfriend. And this is the thing, what I mean about, like, tell me these things in the beginning. Well, turns out, like, daily, she just goes on an app, finds somebody to come over her house and have sex with her. And her boyfriend didn't know. The boyfriend found out. So then eventually they put cameras in the room so the boyfriend could watch. And that's not shocking. It's just who she was. that shocked me. Like, and I'm like, y'all just record? Do y'all tell these people? No.
Oh, wait, they're recording people and people don't know they're being recorded?
She is recording her sexual escapades, and her and her boyfriend get off on it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That could be a kink. That person should go to my friend's show, Horrible Decisions, and talk about that. But that's probably illegal.
Yeah, it probably is. I mean, I don't know. That one, I'm not just gonna get on the phone and call and say this is happening. If they're not really distributing it and trying to make money off of it, and
Dang. Well, that one you sit back when she leaves and you're like, shit, I didn't expect that one.
Right. And then I can say another one that was kind of a little strange. The girl liked to eat her scabs. Okay.
Huh?
She had an anxiety disorder to where anytime she got nervous, she'd just pick at herself and then she just ate her scabs. And
so how do you deal with that? How do you get them to stop doing that?
Definitely cognitive behavioral therapy would work for that, or help. And she definitely needed medication. There's medication that could help with those obsessive compulsive thoughts. And so it slowed it down. It didn't stop totally, but it did slow it down.
She's out here still eating scabs. Is that like that show? I think it was on TLC where people eat like toilet paper and mattress. Did you ever see that show where they eat weird things?
Strangest Addiction or something like that.
Yeah. Strange Addictions. That's what that reminded me of. Those people were really fucked up.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they needed some things. Well, I want to go into a segment that I call unsolicited advice. And it's funny because there were 2 letters and I'm trying to figure out which one to ask, because one of them was a therapist who did ask a question. But this one, I'm going to ask this one because you are a psychiatrist. So it says, unsolicited, basically everybody asks me for questions. So if you have a question and you're listening to this episode, you can go to shitim30podcast at gmail.com and ask for advice, ask any advice that you might need. Today we have a therapist, but I am a psychiatrist. I am a self-proclaimed therapy giving person. Not educated at all. So this one says, first
Okay.
time seeing a psychiatrist, should I mention disorders I think I may have? Which is, I think you touched on this for a second earlier. Well, it'll be more like seeing a psychiatrist of my own free will. I was hospitalized and diagnosed with MDD. What's MDD?
Major depressive disorder.
Gotcha. I figured it was something like that because they mentioned depression. A
Mhm.
little over a year ago after a suicide attempt. Though
Okay.
I'm not convinced that their diagnoses were very accurate, their questions just made it seem like they were saying you either have depression, anxiety, both, or neither. And those were the only options. I still feel like there's something wrong with me that isn't being addressed. I currently experience symptoms of social anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, and body dysmorphia. And I don't know where to begin in talking to them to a doctor. Would it be ignorant or unhelpful for me to speculate disorders that I may have based on my symptoms, or should I only share what I'm experiencing that makes me feel this way without mentioning any diagnosis?
Okay. Yeah. I think not mentioning the diagnosis is smart because you want to give that provider an opportunity to see what they see from their perspective and what's going on with you. Label, list, talk, anything, all of your symptoms. And from there, we can really try to make an accurate diagnosis on what you have. So if you think you have body dysmorphia, say, hey, I look in the mirror and I think I'm fat, but most people say I'm skinny. Like, we went to school for this. We can determine what that is,
Because listen, Google is a bitch, and
Oh
so is
my God.
WebMD. WebMD, whenever I have something, I'm gonna tell a story with my boyfriend soon, but we had something happen where we got into this huge fight. I thought he was breaking up with me and everything. I mean, I cried my eyes out because something was happening with him, and he freaked out so bad that he's like, I gotta get the fuck up out of here. He changed his flight. He's like, I gotta go. I don't know. And then within like 20 minutes, he's like, I have arthritis. I have a blood clot. He was dying. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, what the fuck did you do? He's like, well, I was in the bathroom and I started Googling my symptoms. And I'm like, bro, what's wrong with you? You can't do that. You end up 10 minutes on Google, you have a tumor and you're dead and came back to life.
That's right. It's scary. It's scary. Don't do it. I'm guilty of that too. I am. It's so hard, but just
it's so hard.
You know what? Think the best and go get it checked out for real. Okay.
No, okay, so going with your symptoms instead of diagnosis.
Yes, go with your symptoms. Tell the truth about what you are experiencing. Just leave it there. I don't think you have to just like give everything at once. If you want to give like your biggest issue, if your biggest issue is body dysmorphia and not depression, maybe like hone in on that in the next visit. We have to break things down. We're not going to solve everything in one visit.
Right.
That's important to know.
It's just an hour that you're there.
Yeah.
Just an hour. Do they do longer than an hour?
Usually the initial visit is an hour, and after that it can be anywhere from what I do, 15 to 20 minutes, but like therapy is generally 30 minutes to an hour.
Oh, okay. And with you is a little bit shorter length.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Well, that was a good one. I wouldn't even know what to say on that. I'm glad you said symptoms. That makes sense.
Yeah.
With your symptoms.
Talk about your symptoms. That's all you need. Yeah.
Because I go into the doctor and I'm like, well, I have all of these tumors and cancers and all this. Fix it now. I have something in my brain. I freak myself out. Well, our last segment is one of my favorite because I love to do this and I used to get in trouble growing up, but now I get paid to do it. And that is my shit talk.
Hey.
So I saw a tweet yesterday. I believe it was yesterday morning. So there's this trend of all these artists dying. And I keep seeing it. And I came home, my daughter came home, my mom picked her up, and she walks into my room and she's like, Mom, did you know? She's like, gosh, Mom, Pop Smoke died. And the only reason I know who he is as of yesterday was because my boyfriend was at work and he texts me, he's like, hey, Pop Smoke died. I was like, who is that?
Yeah.
So I was working and I Googled it and I'm like, oh, I think I've heard that song. I have no idea who any of these kids are. And I'll be 33 in May. But there's all these new artists that I feel like I never get to know their music, or even if it's not my thing, because they're not here long enough for them to make another album because now they're dead, whether it be from murder or drugs. So Premium Pete, so shout out to Pete over in New York, he had a tweet and which says this: my generation, I'm watching these artists who I may call friends. Well, I don't call them friends, but he does.
Yeah.
Many I call friends now, grow old, gray hair, grandkids, hit 50 plus legends, still nasty on the mic. And my daughter's generation is getting used to losing the artists they admire the same age as them, gone at a very young age. Prayers up. And I didn't know how to put it into words until I saw his tweet and I reposted it because my daughter, what's the other kid? Oh my God, that died recently also in the car. I think he was shot.
Oh, the one that got shot.
XX Tentacion.
Yeah,
yes.
So, or whatever his name.
When he died, my daughter was distraught. And then after that, there was another one recently. Can't remember his name either. But who was it?
Oh, you're talking about the one that overdosed. Like went on the plane.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't think of their name. I don't.
Again, I don't know who they are myself, but I have a 14, almost 15-year-old who loves all these artists. She loves music and she's looking up to them. And I feel like she's getting used to this culture where kids or artists don't last longer than like 25, 26 years old. And they're getting younger and younger every time they're dying. So my shit talk was really, I don't know what's going on. What's changing this culture where these kids, drug is a big problem. Murder is a big problem. I looked up this Pop Smoke lyrics. And I'm like, well, let me see what he be talking about. Because I'm like, I know the song, but I think I just remembered his voice. And when I looked up the lyrics, I said, oh, come on. This is all you're talking about.
Yeah, that's it. They talk about drugs and everything. What is it? Percocets, Molly.
Yes. Shooting, being gangsters. I got to shoot it. I'm like, I don't care. I got to buy a couple bodies. And I'm like,
that's just what the music has morphed into, you know what I mean? And then they feel so close to him because now Instagram, Facebook, or whatever is all, you know, so it's so personal now. So when something happens, they grieve it. And then, I mean, that's it. Like when I was growing up, we had Snoop and, you know, they was rapping about weed and.
Yeah, they sold the weed, they sold the coke, they did all this, but you don't.
Yeah, but now talking about actually taking it.
Right. We glorified the sale of it.
That's right.
Now these kids glorify the use of it.
Exactly.
And I'm like, you're glorifying being a junkie.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
You're glorifying killing people. And I'm sure that they're like shooters or whatever, but I feel like our generation or the generation before, when they were dealing with all of that, it was to either protect your family or protect your business or, you know, that that lifestyle that they were in. Now they do it for no reason.
That's the vibe. Yeah. Now it's just like I get a body for nothing.
I don't like your Instagram. So it is what it is. And it's just a lot. So it saddens me for my daughter and this new generation coming up, seeing that they're not even seeing their idols, who they see as their, you know, their great artists, make it past one album because they're dead.
Yeah.
So that was basically like it made me sad to see her walk in the room again like that. And it's been the third time in less than a year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's not stopping. And then even the, I think he committed suicide, the white boy, Mac. I don't know.
Oh, Mac Miller. No, he was overdose as well.
That was overdose? Okay, yeah.
Yes. I guess he was getting pills or coke or someone and they were like laced with something else. Yeah, Mac Miller's was another one. It's just it's just happening over and over again. But is there anything that you have seen that has happened to you recently that you just want to talk a little shit about? I know you're a professional and all, but you can be like, I want to talk some shit.
Some shit about anything?
Somebody piss you off?
Who pissed me off? Girl, I can't even. Yeah, let's talk about, my kids pissed me off last night.
Yes, girl, talk about it.
I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. They had the nerve to tell me, okay, I have a 2015 Tahoe. Okay, it's fine. Still got my rims. Mama, you need to get another car because this one is old. And they both back there agreeing with each other. I'm like, first of all, let me tell you something. I provide for y'all as a single mother. Let's not talk about how 80% of Black women are the breadwinners for their home versus 50% of Caucasian women.
You tell them.
Down for y'all. Don't talk to me about getting another damn car. Get out of here. Those bald asses. Like that really pissed me off. That really did. So
it's happened to me.
My shit talk.
I have a 2011 Camry that is not going anywhere. I don't want a car payment.
Exactly. My shit is paid for.
Thank you. Paid for my AC is great. There's nothing wrong. The only thing that's ever happened to my car is something at some point broke. And I think it was like $150 to fix. It was so cheap. And I love to travel. I quit my entire career. So now it's like, girl. And everybody's like, so when are you getting a new car?
Right.
Excuse me?
I'm not over here stressing.
At all.
Okay.
And could I get one? Yeah, but I use that money to put into my business, to travel, to give you what you want, because every day you want something new.
That's right.
You're eating steak, right? I can give you ramen and get me a Lexus. Get out of here. Yeah, right. these kids are something else.
Yeah.
These kids and they're so quick to let us know. Well, Angel, thank you so much for like joining me on this episode. It's something I've been wanting to do for a really long time. And shout out to, the technology. We love it, yet we hate it. Like an episode is like, where'd you go? Oops, we're gone. And now we're using the Wi-Fi from my phone to see how this is going to come out.
We got back up.
But how can, they reach you? Do you have any, do you do anything with social media? Do you know, like whatever you do, they can reach you?
Yeah, which I just started. I'm so not social media computer. I couldn't even figure out how to work these headphones. Carla had to help me, and one of the girls here at the office. Crazy. But I just recently got an Instagram. Yay. It's Angel_Bonafide, BONAFIDE. Again, depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar. I treat all of that. I also do B12 injections for energy, mood. It does increase metabolism.
I love those.
Yeah,
I have 3
doing that as well. Yeah, so that's what I'm just looking here to grow my practice and treat.
Do you do virtual stuff?
Not yet. I am looking to add it though. I am. Maybe within the next month, I'll be doing virtual.
Yes, let's do virtual. Whenever you do, let me know so we can go ahead and plug that in, because I think that when I left to New York for 3 months, I would talk to my therapist via Skype. Well, actually, it was some other thing that y'all doctors or therapists or whatever do.
Yeah. And the holdup is honestly a lot of insurances. They really don't like to reimburse well for that. But what the hell?
My therapist. So mine doesn't even take insurance.
Okay.
She told. Yeah, well, I guess you do something a little bit different, but
no, insurance can be a bitch, you know what I mean? But it does bring in clients, so I take it. But cash pay is a better way to go.
Yeah, she also mentioned. So I don't know how you feel about this. She mentioned that she didn't want to take insurance, and she said that once you take insurance, you have to at any point give them your reports if they wanted them,
like being audited. So for that reason, unfortunately, I don't take Medicaid. That's one of the reasons. But I mostly do commercial insurance, and I do take care of my elderly. I do Medicare. Take it. But yeah, commercial, they don't really mess with you too much like that. It's the government.
Okay. Yeah, she was saying she didn't want her people, which is the people of color that come to her, to be for their mental issues or the fact that they come in there and talk to her, for that to be used as a weapon against them at any point in time.
Yeah, it happens. So I understand that. I do understand it.
Okay, well, I will tag all your information, and as soon as you open up that virtual stuff, let me know, because I benefited from virtual with my therapist. She reminds me a lot of you. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And she does. And again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, I enjoyed you, Carla.
I did too. I'll see you guys next week. And if any part of this, resonated with you, if you have any questions or you want some advice, go ahead and email me at shitim30podcast@gmail.com. I just went through my email earlier, and I have a bunch of questions, but you guys don't write advice. We have to do some email etiquette here. Have a subject line where it says advice or podcast advice, something. You can't just be like, hey, Carla.
Yeah.
I get so much spam email. I won't know what it is. I found one from October of last year.
Oh my goodness.
Right. I'm like, oh, come on. But anywho, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys back here next week. Goodbye. So I hope you really enjoyed that episode with Angel. Like I told you, I needed that episode more than anyone else could have needed that episode. I am literally texting my therapist right now and making an appointment to go see her as soon as Mandy leaves on Monday. So she'll be out of here on Monday, and I am calling my therapist. But before we're done, I want to shout out a really, really nice person. And this, again, is what fuels me, what keeps me going. I read it on a couple days ago because I hadn't even looked at my phone for this, but the Coffee Queen left me a review on Apple Podcasts, which I tell you guys, it helps me so much. personally and business-wise. And it says, I love Carla. I have been listening to this podcast for a long time. I have enjoyed watching Carla's growth as a person. She definitely inspires me to be more open and creative with my blog. I am loving how cute her and girl, don't make, oh, y'all be making me blush over here by myself. I am loving how cute her and Wax are. Thank you for sharing your stories with us. You are so welcome. If any of you are not patrons and you feel the same way she does, become a patron. For some reason, it always falls on a day that he's here. But once a month, we do our virtual pajama parties. So we end up virtually together. It's a room where we're all looking at each other and hanging out and having different topics of conversation. And somehow he always ends up coming in on them. He's in town and he wants to chime in with his 2 cents of something to say. And I shared some news that we will be doing an episode for Patreon a month, him and I. Also, I do stories on Patreon, extra episodes, and rants. 30, 40-minute rants of myself, which is what I call them. And I just talk about what I'm going through personally, because there's some things that I don't like to share on this podcast. So again, the Coffee Queen, thank you for your review. Make sure that if you haven't reviewed or rated the podcast yet, to do so. But if you want to become a patron of the community, become one of my besties and get a lot more content and information, go to www.patreon.com/shit-I'm30. It'll also be linked under the description of the podcast. You can get tons more content. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I am so sorry that it's late in the evening, but now you have it. It's here. I made sure I showed up and showed out, and you have an amazing week. Goodbye.